Rajatan felt connected to them now. They served a common master. He could almost hear their thoughts, drifting about like smoke. His troops passed between a pair of huge golden censers where fires had burned continuously for 100 years. This marked the beginning of the Avenue of Kings. As soon as his palanquin reached them, a thunderous cheer rose from the city. Ahead, crowds had massed along the avenue to do obeisance. His people had strewn the streets with rose petals and white lotus blossoms, so that as the elephants walked, crushing the petals, a sweet fragrance wafted up. Sweeter to him still was the smell of scented oils burning in 100,000 lamps. The crowd wildly cheered their savior. A throng had gathered to greet him, citizens of Magasa and refugees from the south, more than 3 million strong. Those closest to the palanquin fell down upon their hands and knees, bowing in respect. Their humped bodies, draped in robes of white linen and rising up above the lanterns set on the ground, looked like rounded stones, thrusting up from a river of light. Farther back in the crowd, some fought for a closer view. Women screamed and pounded their breasts, offering themselves to Rajatan. Men shouted words of undying gratitude. Babes cried in fear and wonder. The applause thundered. The cheers rose up like fumes above the city and echoed from low hills a mile away and from the high stone walls of the palace of the elephant itself. Rajatan grinned. The deed pained him. He had taken many wounds in the Battle of Kartish, wounds that would have killed any lesser man, and some of those were to his face. He lay back on his silken pillows, reveled in the gentle sway of his palanquin as the bearers marched in step, and watched the frightened doves circle above the city, floating like ashes above the light. It seemed the start of a perfect day. Gradually, something caught his attention. Ahead, people bowed to do obeisance, but among the humped shapes, one man remained standing. He wore the grey robes of the Ahkelah, the judges of the desert. Upon his right hip, his robe had been thrown back, revealing the handle of his saber. He held his head high so that the black ringlets attached to his simple iron war helm cascaded over his shoulders and down his back. Wukaz? Rajatan wondered. Wukaz Faharakin come to fight at last, offering a duel? The humble peasants nearby looked up at the judge fearfully from the corners of their eyes, and some begged him to fall down and do obeisance, while others chided him for his deportment. Rajatan's palanquin came up beside the Ahkelah, and Rajatan raised his hand, calling for his procession to stop. Immediately the pounding of the drums ceased, and every man in the army halted. The crowd fell silent, except for the bawling of a few babes. The air nearly crackled with intensity, and the thoughts of the flame-weavers burned into the back of Rajatan's consciousness.
"Kill him," they whispered. "Kill him. You could burn him to cinders. Make an example of him. Let the people see your glory."
"Not yet," Rajatan whispered in return, for since his near death in the battle at Kartish, Rajatan's own eyes burned with hidden fires now.
"I will not unveil myself yet."
Fire had claimed his life, had filled him with a light divine yet unholy. His old self had burned away, and from the cinders had risen a new man, Skathane, Lord of Ash. Rajatan knew most of the members of the Ahkelah. It was not Wukaz who stood before him. Instead, his own uncle on his father's side, Hasad Aten, barred the way. Not Wukaz, Rajatan realized with palpable regret. Instead, his uncle had come on Wukaz's mission. Rajatan had taken thousands of endowments of voice from his people, endowments that came from fine singers, from great orators. He spoke and let the power of his voice wash over the crowd. In a tone sweeter than peach blossoms, as cruel as a blade of flame, he commanded,
"Bow to me."
Everywhere among the crowd, millions prostrated themselves, those who were already